Today's event began when the mayor called a special meeting of City Council. Leo DelVilano wasn't exactly sure what the meeting was for, and that was a bit out of character for him, because if there's one person who's had his nose in City Hall politics in the last 40 years, it's Leo DelVilano. That fact was acknowledged by the numerous speakers who paid tribute to the man today, the man whose name has become synonymous with the city of Timmins. The tributes came in the form of letters from the Premier and from the Prime Minister. And also from the city of Timmins came a specially commissioned portrait of Leo DelVilano. It was painted by Ed Spahar. There were also tributes from his fellow council members, who clearly admire the man for what he has done for the city of Timmins. Finally, there was time for Leo to offer a few words. And once again, he was a bit out of character because he said so little. Quite a change from the days when he ran the city. But Leo did say thanks, especially to his wife and family, who've had to put up with a husband and father continuously in the spotlight. Leo, who will be 73 years young on Tuesday, also mentioned he was a bit surprised at today's event.
Anyway, I don't know what else to say, except that thank you very much for everything. I didn't realize that you people brought memories, and thanks for the memories.
Len Gillis, MCTV News.
And some of you who are sitting there asked me to highlight disappointments and enjoyments in my life. The reason why I asked for Father Brouillard is because him and I were running hockey teams when the Timmins Arena burnt, and we both tried to get in there to get our equipment out that we paid out of our pockets, and the firemen stopped us from going in. I don't know how many of you remember the Timmins Arena, and some of the newcomers might wonder where it was. It's where the Mike's 2nd Avenue store is. Used to be the Timmins Arena. That was one of the disappointments in my life. The biggest disappointments, I'll tell you, and I never pulled any punches, was the fact that when I walked out my door during the last election, and that's one of the few times that I cried in my life when I saw my windows of the car broken. The disappointment was, and with respect, Mike, losing the election and having damage to my windows of the house and the car. Big disappointment, the biggest in my life. And I've always smiled and enjoyed everything. Another disappointment was when Don Somerville, who was mayor of Toronto, had passed away, and I was sitting in the church at his funeral, and I didn't like the fact that he was overshadowed by the shooting of a fellow in the United States called President Kennedy. That was a disappointment to me, because to me, Don Somerville was more important than a fellow south of the border, although I had a lot of respect for President Kennedy. I met him in New York City one time when I was down there, and I thought he was a great man. But to me, Don Somerville was great because he played hockey for the McIntyre Mines in the years gone by, and he lost his life playing hockey in Toronto for the benefit of some Italian benefit of some unfortunate things that happened in Italy. That was a disappointment. Now, one of the best things that happened to me is when Wilf Spooner made sure that I was invited to the Queen's supper in Toronto, and I was able to sit and walk and drink with the Duke of Edinburgh. Him and I tasted 8 different kinds of wine, and every time somebody took our picture, they wanted us to hide the glass, and he didn't know what to do, so I put my glass behind my back and I said, "Show yours," and that was one of the greatest enjoyments that I had. The Duke of Edinburgh was a great guy, and the Queen was a great person, but I got quite close to her, all right. And they mentioned the fact that I was able to produce some unscathed and Ruly bearskins. And it was some of you who are sitting here that made it possible. Now, my life has been Timmins. Formerly the town of Timmins, and now the city of Timmins. Some of the people in the city of Timmins say, oh, that son of a gun, not that mild. They had other names for me. But I've asked people who said to me, you made some mistakes. I says, name one. And believe it or not, they haven't been able to. But I have made mistakes. I only know one person that never made mistakes, and he suffered for the rest of us. I'm not going to suffer for you because I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to keep making them. You know, another person that I'd like to mention here tonight who used to help me carry mail, and at 6 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning we used to get in some awful arguments, and that's in the person of Archie Dillon. He's around here somewhere. Would you stand up, Archie? If any of you have a chance to get Archie in a corner and have him come up with some real sayings and some real articles of interest, you just listen to him because he's really an entertainer. And I'm going to get back to him later on. But in the meantime, I would like to say this to Danny Thomas, or pardon me, I don't know why I keep saying Danny Thomas. Oh, he's a Lebanese and you're not a Lebanese, eh, Jack? To Jack Halpert. He's been a wonderful chairman. To the JCs, thank you very, very much for the wonderful setup that is here this evening. To those of the visiting mayors, and where else could you get a number of presidents? The president of the Ontario Municipal Recreation Association, the president of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the president of the greatest company in the world, the Texas Gulf. How can I say anything but thank you to all of you, not only for attending, but for your good words, your good gifts, and love from Top Banana. Now, Archie gave me this. When the great recorder calls and writes beside your name, it matters not if you won or lost, but how you played the game. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.